Good evening. You're on the smoking section with Steve Helfer and Chris Murphy. Chris hasn't been on in a while. Chris, I forgot to put on my button. How do you like our new buttons for Cambridge Citizens for Smokers' Rights?
I haven't seen it.
Well, it's right here. Take a look at it.
I like it. It's got a smoking, looks like a cigar, and it's got a white field and a green and black
I like it a lot.
circles. What does the green and black mean?
I'm not aware of any kind of meaning in the colors, but I think the design is very good. And last week I did talk a little bit about smoking and pregnancy, and I think I'm going to talk about it this week also.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
As someone who's a supporter, but on the novice side,
Yes.
I would be interested to hear your case that smoking is not a health concern for the pregnant.
Right. Okay. Well, I can make it in a number of ways.
Okay.
Number one, when I was born, or right up to about 1980, about 40% of women smoked during pregnancy, and you know, I don't think birth outcomes were dramatically different or worse than now. So, do you know, did your mother smoke during pregnancy?
Almost certainly.
Oh, so you feel she did?
Well, I will ask her since she's still around.
But you say almost certainly. Why did you say almost certainly?
Because the caution about smoking didn't come in strongly until the mid to late 60s. And in the early to mid 60s, I can remember my parents having parties where there was a cloud of smoke.
Right,
you know,
right.
40 people smoking.
So your mother was a smoker or
Yes.
during that time?
Yes, and I'm assuming that she was probably a light smoker, but it was just sort of like having I will ask her about both alcohol and tobacco.
Well, I'm more interested in tobacco, though. Okay, so you were exposed, evidently, then you were exposed.
Plenty of secondhand smoke.
Right. And you were
Didn't hold
exposed.
me back.
You were exposed to smoke as a child a
Yes.
lot. And was your sister or brother, or do you have a sister or brother?
I have a sister and a brother,
And did
neither of whom smoke anymore.
But they were exposed to smoke as
Yes,
children, and quite possibly
reading and smoking,
but quite possibly exposed to smoke in the womb also, right?
quite possibly.
In fact, you think probably, I think you said.
I would say probably, but I'll find out.
And were any of you asthmatic, or are any of you
No.
asthmatic? And did any of you have respiratory problems when you were
No.
youngsters?
Nope.
Or were any of you born ultra lightweight or something like
None
that?
of the above.
So your circumstances would not, let's say, be a kind of a poster child for the idea that smoking during pregnancy is
Correct.
dangerous.
Right.
I also interviewed probably about 15 women, you know, just a small cohort, who smoked during their pregnancies. My sister and many of her friends, one friend of my sister's told me, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but that she smoked 2.5 packs a day during pregnancy. And I know she has 2 children. She said to me that there were no complications, you know, related to that. And, well, you know, it's interesting because, as I said on our program last week, you know, the rate of women smoking during pregnancy is going way down.
Correct.
As the number of women who have smoked, period, has gone down. And
The number of women who are pregnant has gone down a little bit.
I don't know about that. I mean, what
Well,
makes
that's
you say
more
that?
complicated, which demographic you're talking about. But
Yeah,
let's
I
leave
guess
that
so.
aside.
Within the, you know,
Yeah.
so, and it's interesting because during this period of time that smoking rates have declined, I've made a list of conditions that have gotten much higher in the country. One is the number of cesarean sections has increased dramatically, and food and respiratory allergies for children, autism for children, asthma for children, childhood obesity for children, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. All these things have increased as the rates.
Boyhood is rampant too.
What do you mean by that?
Boys acting like boys.
Well, all of these diseases have kind of increased as the smoking rate has declined among pregnant women.
Got it.
So that's one of the reasons I question whether smoking during pregnancy is a no-no.
It's good to question everything.
Right.
question many things.
Well, so that will be your homework between now and the next
Yes.
time we speak. You will ask your mother if she smoked during her, I assume she had 3 pregnancies?
4,
You had she lost a child?
correct, about a week after birth.
Okay,
Born
well, I'm
named
sorry to hear
Christine.
that. What did you say?
She was Christine,
Yes.
and in today's medicine, she would have survived.
Oh, probably, because
But it was
what they call neonatal medicine, has really
Yeah, it was
gotten
a-
very,
Relatively minor thing, but,
really?
well, it was, the amniotic fluid was leaking, the lungs didn't develop quite sufficiently, but she was still born like maybe 6 or 7 pounds.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, that's a healthy weight, yeah.
Yeah, at least 6, not like drastically underweight.
Mm-hmm.
And basically got pneumonia and died of pneumonia. Whereas today,
With antibiotics and so forth.
yeah, they just would have, it wouldn't been of. So yeah, I had an older sister who passed away.
And I came across this study, which I think is kind of interesting. It's in a pretty good website, and it says that a Swedish study of 2 generations of Swedish children found that the children of smokers had lower rates of allergic rhinitis, allergic asthma, atopic eczema, and food allergies. So it seems that, at least with this particular study, in Sweden, it appeared that the children of smokers were healthier than the children of non-smokers. So these are just some, let's say, seeds of doubt. I like to spread
Yeah.
seeds of doubt in terms of the all we hear about tobacco and how it's lethal and all of this kind of stuff. Have you been smoking your pipe at all recently, or did you give that up, that project up?
Only at that last time we gathered did I smoke it. But I'd like to gather again with your smoking friends sometime.
Oh,
I
really?
enjoyed them a great deal.
Well, I
Especially
mean,
the girls,
yeah.
women, females,
right.
30-ish.
Yeah, well,
Great-
you
great
could, you could perhaps one of these days join. We have meetings every Saturday at
Really?
3 o'clock. Yeah, but it's
Where?
at my house. But they're pretty. These are kind of working meetings. These are not, social meetings.
Okay,
And
I will drop by.
well, I will talk to you
few
about that after the show.
Yeah.
And I have been smoking, or actually, I haven't been smoking something, but I have been trying something recently called Snus, and it's a very interesting thing. It's tobacco in a little kind of like pocket, and you put it in your mouth, and this product can cause cancer. Geez, I didn't know. I didn't realize that. I was trying it without reading the warning label.
It's right there on the label, though.
Really? So it's got to be true, right? If it's on the warning label.
Believe
Right?
half of what you read and even half of what you see.
Right. And, it was interesting because I came across something on the web by a man named Carl V. Phillips, who is a Masters of Public Health, and a PhD, who is interested in tobacco harm reduction. And he wrote something that I thought I would run by you, and it says, "It is interesting to note that quite a few experts on the effects of tobacco use have quietly taken up using low-risk tobacco products in middle age for the cognitive benefits it provides. They have all chosen the invisible and better research products like Snus and nicotine replacement therapy, but the concept is the same." So evidently there are people even in the tobacco control corner who have recognized the cognitive benefits of tobacco and are using tobacco in a form that they feel is kind of less harmful. Is this something that you might want to try?
Yes, actually it is.
Because I was thinking about trying an experiment, which is that I would buy you a week's supply of Snus and Snus.
Do you use it like chewing gum or like one little pinch?
Well,
the
it's
morning
in a
and-
pocket, and
Yeah.
you just put it in your mouth, and it kind of sits there. It takes a little getting used to. But what I was thinking of doing, and in fact I recommended to another friend of mine who's, is that and then you would try this for a week, and you would see if you could notice any benefit in terms of, let's say, alertness or cognitive ability or short-term memory.
In the past year, for the first time in my life, I tried acupuncture.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Like about 15 visits to 2 different practitioners.
Right, and did you?
Not a dramatic change, but I think some. I can't write the thing off. I certainly don't understand it, but you know, it's got a considerable legacy of about 3,000 years. Or
yeah, but were you going for any particular complaint?
Yeah, actually a couple.
A couple. You want to run those by us, or would you rather not?
No, I won't get into it right now, but maybe
No.
later.
Okay. I mean, most people go to those for.
It was a very particular complaint. 2 physical ailments that were both chronic but not drastic, but were.
So did you receive any benefit or not? No benefit that you're aware. A little.
Not enough. I mean, and I don't know. It has a lot of leeway in it.
What does that mean?
That means there's a northern Chinese version and
Oh,
a southern
please,
Chinese
yes.
version and a Japanese
Right,
version.
and whatever version you're going to is, the other version's probably better, right? Listen,
Yeah.
I've been to acupuncturists, and I've never gotten much from them. And although I do know one person who had chronic hiccups, which is a very unpleasant condition.
Sure.
And he was treated with all kinds of medications and whatnot, and he went to an acupuncturist. And I mean, it's hard for me to believe, but the acupuncturist did seem to cure him.
Within 1 or 2 or 3 visits.
Very
suddenly
short
was
time.
stopping.
It was nothing short of a miracle, as they say.
There are many cases of things, and very odd things like that. So I certainly don't write it off. It's in that vast limbo category of things you
Well,
don't know.
listen, let's go to our smoker of the week, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to go like that, and you can look at me, okay? Look
Yep.
there. Okay, we're going to go to our smoker of the week, and I assume you know who this man is.
I do recognize him, but I cannot tell you.
Can't.
He's an
He
actor
died
or-
this week, by the way.
Well,
In other words, he died because he smoked. If you smoke, you die. Of course, if you don't smoke, you die too, but that we won't talk about,
right.
You don't know who this person is.
I do recognize him, but I'm sorry I can't.
And he died this week.
Not Mark Twain, not Brezhnev.
Not Mark Twain. No, Mark Twain died in I think, the 1920s. But, well, here we go.
Gosh, he's either an actor or a writer.
Gunter Grass,
That's right.
the
Okay.
German novelist, social critic, and Nobel Prize winner, whom many called his country's moral conscience, but who stunned Europe when he revealed in 2006 that he had been a member of the Waffen SS during World War II, died on Monday in the northern German city of Lübeck, which had been his home for decades.
Well,
He was 87.
Mm-hmm.
So another life cut short by that
87. Let's
deadly
see.
thing of tobacco. Now let me ask you a question then. Let's see, what does he have here? Did you ever see the movie or read the book The Tin Drum?
I did not.
I thought it was an awful movie, but anyway, it's supposed to be. People liked it a lot.
Yep.
With his mane of black hair, drooping walrus mustache, bifocals slipping down his nose, and smoke curling from his pipe, Mr. Grass was almost a caricature of the post-war European intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he died, let's see, what is today? Today is Wednesday, probably about a Monday or Sunday. And so, where do we go from here? Good question. Do you have any more thoughts on the the meetings you attended vis-a-vis the park smoking ban?
Yes. I'm quite glad that I went. Okay.
We were glad you went too. In fact, I want to thank you,
You have
from
a
the
great-
bottom of my heart.
Thank you. You have a good cadre of supporters in your group. It was good to see 50 to 100 people show up for all manner of questions.
Yeah.
And to see the city council patiently, listen to them and give them some respect.
Well, that's an interesting
So
question. Let's take a phone call, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's hope it's not a crank call. You're on the smoking section.
Hi, Stephen.
This sounds like, don't tell me, is this Donald or Jim?
Jim.
Hey, Jim, you haven't called in a while.
I know, but did you give up cigarette smoking for the other tobacco product?
No, by no means. I'm still smoking cigarettes, a pipe, cigars, but I'm also enjoying snus.
Snus, that's it. Yeah.
But Jim, I'll tell you one thing. I think for anybody who wants to cut down smoking, or even, God forbid, give it up, I think snus is a really, really nice, a nice alternative. It doesn't have all the side effects of all of that terrible medication that's being foisted on the public by the pharmaceutical companies and promoted by public health authoritarians.
Yeah, I think snus would be more accepted in society than cigarette tobacco smoke.
Right, because there's no smoke with snus.
Yeah, because you're not offending anybody by the smell.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you definitely know more about the advantages of smoking than I know of the disadvantages of smoking.
well, because the
I mean,
disadvantages
you do a lot of studying.
Well, thank
so
you,
I
Jim.
can't call up and argue any point with you at all, Steve.
Well, that's
Not that you're right. Not that you're right, but you have more knowledge of this.
Well, I mean, this is my thing, Jim. It's so,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, and thank you very much. I take that as a compliment. But that hasn't stopped you from calling up before and arguing with me.
I'm done with that, Steve.
Are
I'm
you
done
really?
with that.
I'm sorry to hear
that's
that.
very frustrating, and I think it's frustrating for you too.
No, not in the slightest. Not in the slightest.
There's one benefit that you have to agree with me on smoking. One thing is the price of tobacco.
Well, the thing is,
That's a big downfall.
well, the thing is, Jim, most people who give up smoking end up spending more money on food and getting heavier and then having to buy new clothes. And if they're taking pharmaceutical antipsychotic, or not antipsychotic, but psychoactive medications, they end up, of course, that's Medicare or Medicaid, but they end up spending more money taking these terrible medications with all these terrible side effects. So I don't think they end up saving money.
About the weight gain, Steve. I agree about the weight gain. In the beginning, Steve.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you do gain weight.
Right.
You do, but eventually, you could, eat a little bit more healthy.
Right.
And get a little bit more exercise, and you can maintain your weight.
No, I don't dispute that. But like, for example, you take someone like Harold Washington, who is the mayor of Chicago, the first black mayor of Chicago. They persuaded him to quit smoking. He gained almost, a gargantuan amount of weight and then dropped dead of a heart attack.
Wow.
Jim, let me ask you a question. Did your mom and dad smoke?
My mother did.
And so
my father never touched a cigarette.
But when you were growing up, were you exposed to a lot of secondhand smoke?
Yes, and I started smoking when I was about maybe 15, 16.
Right. So, but my question is to you, your mother probably smoked during her pregnancy with you.
Probably, because back then, like your gentleman friend,
Chris Murphy.
There was no big warnings about cigarettes. What's his name? I'm sorry.
Chris Murphy.
Chris. Yes, he. I mean, back then, it wasn't as harmful. They said back then.
Right, but I mean, Jim,
even when I started, Steve, there was no big deal about the health hazards of cigarette smoke, because they used to give them out on the street. They used to give samples of cigarettes out on the street.
I wish they still did.
When I started smoking, I could get 2 packs of cigarettes for $1.10.
Yeah. When I started smoking, hold this sec, for $1.10. When I first started smoking, I got cigarettes for 25 cents.
Yeah.
A pack. A pack.
Yeah,
And I
right,
could-
right.
Chris,
I was paying 55 cents a pack.
I could buy cigarettes in the grocery store as a 12-year-old kid. I wasn't, as 11-year-old, I wasn't even really smoking then, but I gave them to, a nurse who was taking care of my grandmother, so I bought her for Christmas a carton of cigarettes for $2.50 for a carton. Jim,
You know, my mother, instead of an allowance, she would buy me a pack of cigarettes.
that's nice. That's really good. And hey, listen, Jim, you sound great. You're here today, and Chris's mother, who evidently smoked. How old is your mother now?
92 next week.
She's 92, so her smoking didn't seem to direly affect her health very much. Hey, Jim, listen, you can call up and you can argue anytime. Don't let me pull the wool over your eyes, okay?
All right.
I'll hear from you next time, I hope.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
Well, that was nice, Jim. I haven't heard from Jim in a while. It's nice to hear,
Yeah, absolutely.
from some callers, whether they are pro or con. So you thought the hearings were good, and it's funny because my friend Paul Neff thinks that the city council treated us very shabbily. Would you disagree with that?
Well, I don't have enough experience I don't know what the normal is. It didn't strike me that way, but.
No, I mean, they listened, right?
Yeah.
They didn't make faces at us, right?
They have a busy schedule. They have to sit through hours of hearings.
God, yes, it's
Can't
horrible, right?
Blame them if one or two fall asleep.
Right,
That's
right.
life.
But and they appeared to listen. And,
Yes, they did.
And
they
I
did.
think it's a great forum because most of those city councilors haven't heard anyone defend tobacco and even extol tobacco like we do. So I think that's really nice for them, for their education. It gives us an opportunity. So you're not in Paul Neff's camp then, is that correct?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he has some reasons for thinking that, but it didn't strike me that way.
Well, listen, I'm getting another call. That's very
Great,
exciting.
great.
Very
2 calls.
exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. You're on the smoking section.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what you are thinking about the new e-cigarette.
Right, that's a big question. Well, Chris is not really a smoking expert, but Chris, do you have any opinions on the e-cigarettes?
I'm not really familiar with them.
Well, the e-cigarettes supply nicotine in water vapor.
Yep.
So it's similar to smoking a cigarette in some ways.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But it's not supposed to have all the harmful effects that cigarettes are supposed to have. But I don't believe cigarettes have as nearly as harmful effects as is claimed for them. I honestly believe that if you are interested in something like that, you go to Swedish Snus. And,
Do you ever smoke them?
excuse me?
Do you ever smoke them?
I've tried electronic cigarettes, but I enjoy tobacco. I'm an
Don't smoke it.
unapologetic smoker, so I have no real reason to try electronic, but I have tried them. Thanks for calling. Well, Chris, we have a few minutes left, and what I was going to ask you about is if you want to talk about that book. I would be very happy to talk about that book with you, and if you could,
I do.
succinctly give
do.
me a couple of things. Oh my gosh, we got another call, I think.
Okay, take the call.
Yeah, we do. You're on the smoking section.
Hello. Yeah, I just want to know, since Obama's really trying to cut people's ability to smoke, I just want to know what you think, who you're voting for if the next president decides to cut smoking's right.
That's a really good question. I would vote for someone who is much.
Someone who ain't a fucking bitch like you.
I would vote for someone who is much less, let's say, controlling than President Obama. President Obama really likes to control, and he likes to control tobacco use and many other things.
Correct.
But then again, I mean, it's an interesting question. Chris, let's talk about your.
A good friend gave me a book. It's called Guantanamo Diary. It's by a man named Mohammadou Slahi. He's from Mauritania. And to make a long story short, he fought against the Russians in Afghanistan for a couple of years with a little organization called Al-Qaeda.
Right.
And then when the Russians left and the Arabs took over and the Afghanis and they were feuding among themselves, he said, see you later, I'm out of here. Went back to his own life. And then about 10 years later, he got arrested because, you know, he knew people who knew people after 9/11. So basically, it's a remarkable story about somebody who, he doesn't recount his sessions of being depressed, but he does describe some of the beatings. You know, you have a black...
In Guantanamo.
Yeah. You're chained, your hands and legs are chained, you have a black bag over your head, and somebody's punching you every, like, 3 minutes.
Right.
Real, like, just cowardly stuff. But fascinating story about someone who's living through the American Gulag.
Right. Does he say anything about tobacco use?
I'll have to go back and review it for tobacco.
Because
I think he's a smoker.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, the Geneva Convention says that prisoners of war must be provided with tobacco. At least at some point it did. Now, I would assume that, I don't know if the Geneva Convention is still in force. Thanks for watching the smoking section.